Alright, so we were able to get the tank fixed, or at least attempt to be fixed. Only time will tell if it will hold. My nephew Ryan, who's a much better welder than I am, and he had the tools to attempt to solder the tank. So we filled it with water, purged the remaining air out of the tank with argon, and then he used a hunk of copper heated up with a torch as a soldering iron, and he was able to solder. There were several holes in the tank. I did not take a picture of it before, but you can see here there's one repair, there's another there. That was the previous repair that I thought was liquid steel, but it was actually also another solder. Someone else had soldered it. There's one there, and then there were several little pinholes here. He called it a constellation. And then I sprayed it down with Flex Seal, so if there was any that weren't fully through yet, it would hopefully fill them and protect it. There's still a little bit of water left in here, so I need to drain that out. I did spray most of the tank down where it was sitting to get the lion's share of the grease off, so there's still a little bit more I want to get off. I did come up on a rainy day and spray the engine compartment of the backhoe, and I will hit that again with some degreaser as well while it's apart. And then I brought 2 gallons of water to wash down the degreaser. So there was this orange rubber. It was all on that side. I cut it in half just to give both sides a little bit of buffer, get them up off the metal. Originally there was some sort of cork, sticky back cork that was there, and also here. With all the oil that's soaked in there, nothing's going to stick there, so I cut that rubber piece in half and putting it on both sides, so hopefully that will help. Alright, so that slid in a lot easier than it came out. Of course, gravity works. Hopefully I didn't put a crimp in the fuel line. I won't know until I get down there. So let's go down and look at that. Alright, so here we are underneath the backhoe. I ended up having to pull the fuel line off because it kept getting stuck over this bracket here that the tank sits on. So right now I'm fighting to put the fuel line back on it. And in another video I talked about the red button. Here are the wires. They go into here. This is the shuttle. Controls the forward and reverse. and at some point the wires broke off. So if anyone knows anything about these and whether I can take this apart to rewire this, that would be awesome. Just leave a message in the comments. And what I'm using right here is a 5/8 crow's foot, because I don't know where my 5/8 open end wrench is. Crow's foot works, just a little more meticulous. So you get the idea. I'll be back when I get this all together. Alright, so I got that done, and now connect it to the lift pump. I already connected this hose with that hose clamp there on whatever return or whatever this is. I'm not even sure. Alright, so gotta get that tightened down. This one here, unlike the one below, is 5/8. This one here is 3/4 or 19 millimeter. Alright, so this fitting here is an O-ring, and the fitting underneath the tank was a compression fitting. So, a little different. Now I did remove this fuel filter that was here in order to get that screw. I could try and reuse the one that was there, but it did get some crush marks in it, and rather than risk having it fail, I just got a new one to replace it. Something to keep in mind with this style filter, it does have a secondary gasket which goes right here on these threads. So on here you can see the spigot coming down. So there's an O-ring that sits here, so you need to make sure that the O-ring on the previous filter has been taken off. Otherwise you'll double up on your O-rings and it won't seal. And as you can see on the previous one, there's that O-ring right there. So it did come off. So Just take it and slide that O-ring up onto it a little bit, and then the threads will take over and compress it. So we'll get that up there. And then what this is down here, this little petcock, on a diesel, having water in the fuel is worse than it is in a gas engine. So a lot of diesel fuel filters will have a water separator in them. So you open this occasionally and drain any water that's accumulated in your filter. So I just took a little bit of the diesel fuel from the old filter, put some on my finger, and just moistened this filter gasket here. And I'll also put a little bit on the one that sits here. Alright, so we'll put a little bit there, some here, and just get it started. There we go. Screws on like an oil filter. And then you don't make them super tight because the gasket does seal. So basically you just make them hand tight. Alright, so there's that back together. Alright, so now we have this piece up here that goes up here that holds the tank back. I don't have a rubber piece that I can put behind here to help prevent the rubbing, but I do have some ice and water shield. So what I'll probably do is I'll cut a piece of that and stick that in there just to give some sort of protection between this cross member and the tank, just so that that doesn't rub a hole through it. So let me go get that. So I just got the piece of ice and water shield just folded there. Let me peel back a little corner of this. What I'll do is I'll stick it to the tank just to help keep it from sliding down, hopefully. Like I said, I'm not trying to stick it to the whole tank, just because everything is covered in grease and I don't think it'll stick well. So I just have that sitting right there. Alright, first thing I gotta do is reattach the ground wire and the fuel gauge sending unit wire. Is there a Phillips screwdriver in there? It may not be. Alright, so that goes on there. That does not go on yet. So we need to put this bracket on first. Okay. So this wire had to come through this hole here. It's part of this wire harness up here. Okay, so got these two bolts on. They have a rubber vibration dampener to help isolate the hydraulic filter from the vibration of the engine. All right, and then we'll put this bracket on. These were just held on with a nut and a washer. Find it. Cool. Alright, so it lives. I didn't get it on camera, but basically I loosened the fuel filter, and then by depressing this lever here, this is the lift pump. So fuel comes through here into the lift pump, which is run off the camshaft. So every time the camshaft lobe comes around, it pumps the lift pump, which lifts fuel into here, comes into here, goes into this filter, then through this chamber into this filter, and then through here. This is the high pressure pump, so it takes the fuel in as low pressure from the fuel tank, and it pressurizes it and sends it out to the injectors. So these pipes here go to the 4 injectors, and it injects the fuel under high pressure, which atomizes it and then a diesel doesn't have a spark plug, it goes off of heat and compression. So the atomized fuel, when the piston comes up and compresses it, the force of the piston coming up creates heat and pressure, and once it gets to the right pressure, which is at the top of the piston stroke, it ignites the fuel and causes an explosion.